I see you in your gorgeous uniqueness. And that's how we evolve Namaste from a simple I bow to you that we might find ourselves saying to perhaps with a wordless gesture. We don't even have to say it if we know the truth of what this means. The unique expression of divinity that I am sees the unique expression of divinity or God that you are. This section of our time together is called Setting the Intention. What is our intention for this morning, or for that matter, for any morning? This question not only invites each of us to ask, well, why did I decide to attend one mountain, many paths today? But also, what intention do I bring to this time I will spend in this community today, regardless of where we are? We've heard our beloved Dr. Marc utter his admonition that this is not a New Age self-help encounter group whose main purpose is the personal development of each member of the community. It's not who we are. Certainly, personal growth and development can and does, of course, happen here in this beautiful container. But if that's why we've come, we are certain to be disappointed and worse, miss a really gorgeous opportunity. One of the teachers who, along with Dr. Marc and my late friend Jerry Judd, have influenced me the most in recent years is a Shaivist Tantra teacher named Christopher Wallace, who's also known as Harish. He speaks eloquently about establishing right motive or intention for one's spiritual practice. Frankly, as I sit here now with you all, it strikes me that in this moment, it's a wonderful motive to bring to all of our endeavors, whatever we're up to. He begins by cautioning us about less aligned motives that might arise. And three in particular, he says, here's one of them. I practice because I'm broken and I need to fix myself. Does that sound familiar to any of you or us? I practice to attain a pleasurable spiritual experience, a good buzz off of God, you know? Or I practice to make myself more powerful, or to gain control over my life, or even, in some cases, sadly, the life of others. Instead of these non-aligned motives, non-aligned with the reality of being, each of these has a curative counterpart, thank goodness. Here they are. I'm not broken in need of repair. My motivation to practice arises from self-love. I practice out of a motivation born in self-love. Here's the second antidote. Because spiritual highs always dissipate as I return to my default state. You know that feeling when you go all the way out into the glory of divinity and you come back to kind of your set point. My intention is to raise the vibration of that default state, of that set point. This happens as over time I gain a more accurate and complete understanding of the truth of who I am, the truth of the nature of being. And then the third antidote, motivation, is rather than enhancing my own power, I practice or even just do this next task for the benefit of all beings. So this leads today to today's prayer of intention. And I invite you to take this in as, or some version of it, as your prayer for today's intention for this time. Try it on, and maybe beyond this hour we have together. Here's the prayer. May I participate in today's One Mountain, Many Paths out of love for myself, with a desire to know the truth for the benefit of all beings. And so now I will turn it over to the reading of the code, and I think that's David.
Come, Ronen. So good to see you on this side of the screen, to see your shining, beautiful, amazing face. And I love to feel into your deep wisdom. So our code today, it's a core code of unique self. So we can actually feel into the depths of it and realize that it's something genuinely real, a perception of God and perception that we can actually model here. So it'll set us up for Tom's talk today. This week's Evolutionary Love Code. Evolutionary love is not merely an emotion. It's a perception. The evolutionary lover sees with God's eyes, because love is a perception at its core, a perception that generates emotion. There is great hope in love. The universe sees, and the universe sees love. The universe feels, and the universe feels love. Seeing generates feeling, and feeling generates seeing. But we must first start with perception, because perception can be trained through practice. Human love is a unique self-perception. Self-love is a perception of one's own unique self. And with that, I turn my word back to you, Tom Ronen.
Thank you so much, David.
Hey, David.
He's got cheerleading in the background. Thank you so much, David. That was beautiful reading of this core code that we've been with for a while. Namaste. Let's try that again. Bow with me. Namaste. This word has become quite common in the West. It's so common that you might think we know what it actually means. You know, as it turns out, you know, around my household, going all the way back to my family of origin, there's an addiction to etymology, to the origin of words. And so as I was preparing this talk about the evolution of the word namaste, I looked at it, and it was a little surprising to me. It's a very simple word. It means bow to you. I bow to you. So I bow to you. But many of us have heard lots of other meanings for this word that's now becoming nearly universal. And so, you know, in some parts of the corners of the world, it's simply hello, namaste, hola, aloha, ciao. In other parts of the world or communities, it's a bow to the divine. When I first heard the word namaste, I was told that it means the divine in me bows to the divine in you. And I've also heard it this way, and this is the launching pad for this morning or afternoon or evening's conversation. The divine in me sees the divine in you. The divine in me sees the divine in you. We've come a long way from simply, I bow to you. I kind of like that last version, the seeing version, because seeing as an act of love is deeply ingrained in me and my worldview. Nearly half a century ago, my late friend Jerry Judd, the co-founder of the Shalom Mountain Retreat Center, in which Marc has done a good bit of teaching, wrote in as the very first of his principles of loving this sentence: more than anything else, we want to love and be loved. Let's say that again. More than anything else, we want to love and be loved. Now, mind you, he wrote this very nearly a half a century ago. Decades later, Having never met Jerry, our beloved Dr. Marc wrote in his book, The Mystery of Love, this sentence: "In the end, we all want so desperately and deservedly to see and be seen." And I'll say that again. I love this sentence. In the end, we all want so desperately and deservedly to see and be seen, to see and be seen. As you can imagine, when these two men, my primary spiritual teachers, both of them met, there was an easy love and deep mutual respect. Whenever Marc would go to Shalom Mountain to teach, he would always make some detour, either before or after, to Jerry's place 2 hours west, just to spend time together. I was privileged to witness some of their gorgeous encounters and even discussions about rather holy topics. So you can understand with these shared perspectives that they came to independently of each other, that they saw eye to eye, and that's a deliberate use of the words. They saw eye to eye. So what about this notion that David articulated, that love is perception? Is it merely, as some folks suggest, my believing that there is a singular divine force or God, and therefore everybody I see has the spark of the divine? Everywhere I look, there's the divine, and it's one big blob of divinity. It seems to me that it is much more than that. It's much more than that, and must be much more than that. Love is a unique self-perception. It is, in fact, unique self-perception. But before I start talking about who I'm seeing, let me talk about how I'm seeing who is perceiving or seeing. Because if I don't know the truth of who I am, then I do not know my own holiness. And here's the truth. You and I'll start with I. I'll start with I. I am God, or Allah, or Elohim, or Shiva, or the All, or whatever word, whether you're theist or atheist or agnostic, you use to describe the biggest notion of creation that you can reach, whatever that word is. But again, certainly not all of that, and not just an indistinguishable part of that impersonal blob of divinity. I am, you are, God, having a unique experience through you, in you, and as you. Through me, in me, and as me. I am, let's pick out of that list, Shiva. I am Shiva, having a Ronen experience. A unique experience that I'll call the Ronen experience. That is my life experience. And the same for you, just insert your name in there. I am, whatever word you use, having insert your name here, experience. Why doesn't it feel like that much of the time? Or sometimes even ever for some people, it just doesn't feel like that's so. It's simple. We forgot. We forgot. We forgot who we are. And we will forget again and again. Even if we remember, soon we'll forget. And then we get to remember and come back to the remembering of this fundamental truth of identity. I am, you are, God, Allah, Shiva, Buddha, the universe, the cosmos. Even atheist, a great atheist astronomer, astrophysicist Carl Sagan, we are a way for the universe to know itself. So all of us, no matter how we see the whole thing working out, can plug a name in there, so long as we plug our name in there, having a unique experience as a witness to the all. So if that's the case, then you are literally seeing with God's eyes, whether you know it or not. These eyes right here in your head, you are seeing with God's eyes, whether you know it or not. But if you know it and can have a sustained experience of that way of seeing, you're partway there, an important part of the way there. The rest of the way, or at least the next step along the way, is to fall in love with your holy uniqueness. There are many practices. Sometimes psychotherapy can help with this, spiritual practice can help with this, getting into nature, forest bathing. There are all sorts of ways that we can foster our own sense of self-love such that we can totally dive deep into a love affair with ourselves in our uniqueness. At the root of it all, it's an invitation to get to know who we are and to love everything about us, our gorgeous self, our less than gorgeous self, everything, and trust that everything, even those things that feel like flaws, mistakes, or deficiencies, is a feature and not a bug, a feature and not a bug in the system that is you. Now, but what about this seeing thing? Let's get back to the seeing. If you can recognize, if I can recognize, if we can recognize that we are seeing with God's eyes and seeing each other and everything around us with holy, sacred eyes, all that remains is to recognize that that person that I'm seeing over there is not only divine, but is divinity having a unique experience through, in, and as the other person. To recognize that every aspect of that person that I'm seeing is a feature and not a glitch. Every aspect, even those that trigger something in ourselves or cause us to wince. So we're left with this sacred encounter. Think about this. Two unique expressions of the divine recognizing each other. Imagine that. Divine, looking at each other, recognizing each other like old friends, dripping in love and appreciation. I see you. I see you in your gorgeous uniqueness. I see you in your gorgeous uniqueness. And that's how we evolve Namaste from a simple I bow to you that we might find ourselves saying, to perhaps with a wordless gesture. We don't even have to say it if we know the truth of what this means. The unique expression of divinity that I am sees the unique expression of divinity or God that you are. How could that sentence not automatically produce a bow in us? If I truly get who I am and I truly see who you are, how could I not bow to you in awe, gratitude, and appreciation? How could I not weep at the privilege of being with you? Oof. How glorious such an encounter. So, my dear friends, God, having a unique experience through me, in me, and as me, sees you in your uniqueness as a gorgeous expression of divinity's infinite love. Now, we could end there, but I won't. Because there are a couple of more steps to go. Let's use our imaginations and envision, I use that word consciously, envision with our mind's eye and our imagination a world in which what I've just described is a general practice among our fellow humans. Imagine this. If we just walked around day-to-day life like that, with all the richness of this unique self-perception meaning we've explored this morning and afternoon and evening so far, what would that be like? What might be possible in such a world? The retreats I co-lead at Shalom Mountain, it's a Thursday through Sunday retreat, and on Friday mornings, we have a process before breakfast that we call beholding. And it's all the retreatants get together and we kind of find a partner and we just gaze into each other's eyes. As it turns out, humanity doesn't do that very much. We kind of glance at it. It's a little threatening for many people. In fact, it can be overwhelming for folks who have not much practice in that, just looking straight into each other's eyes like this. And allowing ourselves not just to see, but to be seen, to be seen. Invariably, the report of people coming out of that process around the breakfast table on a Friday morning is, oh my God, that was so intimate. We often lose the juice of the word intimacy when we think about intimacy as being limited to the domain of sexuality. But no. Intimacy, it's intimate to see each other and to be seen. Now let's remember what Dr. Marc has told us for many years, which I've bought into, that every crisis that we face is a failure of intimacy, every one. And I've checked it out for several years now. I can't think of a crisis that is not a failure of intimacy. Let's pull out a couple of examples of some of these crises. Pick an ism. Pick a racism, or pick classism, or pick a phobia, transphobia, homophobia, or pick anything that turns our fellow humans into something other than a unique expression of the divine. I'll just take my case, for example. Oh, there's an older white cisgendered male, American, privileged. And then to leave it there and to think that you know who I am. Because you have an idea in your head, an image in your head as to what people that are described that way are like and who they are. Well, when we do that to each other, we create these crises of intimacy. We're not seeing with God's eyes. We're not seeing the divinity over there. And we're not allowing ourselves the glorious intimacy that is actually possible in interpersonal human encounters. So imagine if we all of a sudden stopped making each other into two-dimensional, almost cartoon-like figures. No detail, no depth, no understanding. When this happens, we often hear this: you don't know me. And it's a painful cry to hear. I heard it just this weekend. You don't know me. We also hear it in something like Black Lives Matter, or I've been erased. You erased me. Or you don't see me. Can you hear the pain in all of those sentences? And that's the world we live in, filled with that kind of crises, failures of intimacy. It's heartbreaking, really. If you put your ear to the ground and listen, those cries are from billions of us. And it's simply because, I would say, we don't see with our own uniqueness, we don't know our own identity, we therefore don't claim our divine eyes, and we don't see each other's divinity. Let's take it just one more step. What if we extend this bow, this namaste, not only to our fellow humans, but to all beings, and indeed all of creation? Let's slow that down. This is not just a human-to-human bow. What if we could see as unique expressions of the divine, every being, whether animal, plant, or fungus, or even mineral or cloud? Could humans with this perspective, imagine, could humans with this perspective that we've talked about today destroy vast swaths of rainforests and all of the creatures and life forms and even geological structures that are destroyed in the process? Would a human with this perspective wreak such havoc on the lungs of the planet? Or would humans with this perspective see no connection between their personal lifestyle choices, what food we eat, how we consume, how we get around the world, between those choices and the well-being of other unique expressions of sacred all across the planet? It's inconceivable, isn't it? If I could actually allow myself to open up with God's eyes to see the divinity in somebody on a small South Pacific island that is in danger of disappearing entirely from the planet, the homes of hundreds or thousands of people, and not care because they're just, well, they can move. Really? That's such a dismissal of the sacred, of the unique. It's turning a human being and all of the other life forms into a cartoon that we can just say, all right, move from that island to that mainland and you'll be fine. We couldn't do it if we adopted this holy perspective. What I can imagine in my mind's eye is a path in which all of us can say namaste every day, all day, to all of creation, to each other, to our rainforests, to the amazing galaxies that the Webb telescope is revealing to us that we've never seen before with such clarity. I just bow. Why? Because I love myself, because it's the truth of reality, and because it's for the benefit of all of us. That, to me, is what it is to bring heaven down here, and to bring in what Dr. Marc talked to us about quite recently. It's one way of how I hear Dr. Marc when he invites us to live the dream here and now, to imagine that world where we get to bring heaven down here.
Thank you, Tom. I love that you've asked us to use our imagination. You kept asking the question, what if we could actually see with God's eyes? I mean, I felt my own perception expand as you were talking. And so now what we're doing at this point is we're actually going to practice what Tom has invited us into. We're going to practice our meditation to enter prayer, because what is prayer? Prayer is the way that we train our perception to see with God's eyes, right? But the prayer that we do at One Mountain, Many Paths is not to the old-fashioned God that's sort of this bearded man in the sky, a cosmic vending machine that gives us something when we put in a prayer, right? Prayer is actually to the three persons of God, the three perspectives of God, these fundamental perspectives that we can train to actually see with God's eyes, see the beauty in all that is, see the uniqueness, as Tom was pointing out, of all beings, right? And so we actually see God in a third person as the dazzling rainforest that Tom mentioned out. So if we actually can give ourselves a moment just to picture something that you've seen, something that you've read, something that you've learned about that just expands your mind, your heart, your entire being. Something that actually you're in front of a mountain vista. So let's actually find something that we've experienced that opens up our perception to all that is, to a larger field of value. Maybe it's the beautiful rainforest, or a meteor shower, or we look up at the stars at night and we're just blown away. Okay, that's God in the third person. But we can also go to God in the first person. We realize that all the dazzling beauty, the complexity, the love that binds all things, it actually lives in us. The eros that has evolved all of reality from quarks to culture and has brought us all, from nothing basically to where we are today, that lives in us. And so we can actually look within at God in the first person, actually experience ourselves as I am God. I am a unique expression of the infinity of intimacy. I'm a unique configuration of intimacy. So we can look in at our heart, feel it pulsating as the pulsating yearning of the cosmos, of God, for more love, for more goodness, for more truth, for more beauty. Breathe into that. The perception of our own uniqueness. And we can turn toward God in the second person, God who is the infinity of intimacy. And actually, what we'll do in order to access this, I'd love to invite us all again into our imagination. But imagine that you're actually sitting in front of a beloved, someone that you are madly in love with, that you've fallen in love with. So you can close your eyes right now and actually imagine that person sitting right in front of you. That's just someone that's loving you madly, feeling that the ecstatic bliss that when they look into your eyes, they see your personhood. Feel into the heart open, the tears swelling in their face. They're vibrating with love for you. Now double that feeling, magnify it, triple it, exponentialize it. That feeling that person sees you in all of your beauty and all of your uniqueness. I know one particular person right now I'm feeling into, and she breaks my heart open just thinking about how much she loves me. So access that, access your heart. Now they're gazing in your eyes, right? That person actually is experiencing what God is experiencing. That love that moves throughout the cosmos is actually the way God sees you and me right now. So imagine that beloved right in front of you saying, tell me everything. I love you as you are. I love you how you're becoming. I want to see all of you. I recognize you. I desire you. I adore you. I need you. I choose you. I intended you. I love you madly. I celebrate you in all of your greatness, and I hold you in your brokenness, and I'm carrying you. I see you in your irreducible uniqueness. That is God seeing through us. That is what is to love, which Marc always says, to love is to see with God's eyes. And as the code mentioned today, to love is a unique self-perception. So with that realization, with that practice, opening us up to a larger reality of our perception of God, we're going to go into Hallelujah like we do as our practice often asks us to do, the same practice over and over to evoke something deeper and deeper, a commitment to practice. And as we're listening to Leonard Cohen, let the invocation, the practice continue to open us up, and write in the chat box, from this place, I pray, from this seeing with God's eyes, the love of God, practice, I pray for everything. I pray for myself. I pray for my beloveds, my friends, my community, the world, the entire cosmos. So take us inside the holy and broken hallelujah and let the prayers pour out.
Thank you, David. What a beautiful meditation you led us in. Thank you. And I loved your heart filling the space in that meditation. It's quite beautiful. In one of the many wisdom schools I attended that Dr. Marc led at Shalom Mountain, he taught a beautiful chant that I want to start and then turn it off to the more beautiful voice of our beloved Krista. But it's Hinach Yafa Rayati, Hinach Yafa. Behold, you are beautiful, beloved. Behold, behold. Hinach Yafa Rayati, Hinach Yafa. 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 Krista, take us home.
Hinach Yafa Rayati, Hinach Yafa. Hinach Yafa Rayati, Hinach Yafa. Hinach Yafa Rayati, Hinach Yafa. Hinach Yafa Rayati, Hinach Yafa.